Good morning, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? If there are none, review of items not listed on the agenda.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, there are items not listed on the agenda. There's an item of correspondence and a planning report.
Thank you. I just want to point out Councillor Ballinger today is down at the region. That's why he's not here today. Announcements. I guess I got in trouble last time for going this way, so we'll start with Fred, then Dave, Gord, then Pam. Go ahead.
Just a couple of things. I'll just talk about things that are coming up. Certainly people can talk about things that have happened. We have a BIA meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 here. As well, we have the Precious Minds Golf Tournament coming up, the fundraiser, next week, which is fabulous. On the 16th, there is the prayer breakfast at Windance Golf Course, put on by the various churches in and around town. And as well, there was a car wash on Saturday for the Uxbridge Youth Theatre Group for High School Musical, and that is running from May 24th to June 2nd, which would be, it's a great movie, and I'm sure it's going to be a great play. Oh, and just one other thing, since Councillor Ballinger isn't here, just about Huck Finn, because I know that's what he would lead off with.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a tremendous day. It was a little bit cold, but we saw everybody out there, which was great. It was very, very well attended. And I saw the little girl who won the fishing contest. This little girl, she was about yay big, and she caught the fish. It was like, yay. And she had such a big smile on her face. And she was carrying her fishing rod, so everybody knew it was her. And it was funny, because apparently she wins a kayak. The kayak is twice the size of her.
Yeah.
But she was so thrilled, and I thought, you know what, it's nice to see the little kids when they get such a thrill out of it. I don't think she wanted to take it off the hook.
No.
But it was just a tremendous day. And thanks to everybody who supported it.
Councillor Barton.
So, I agree. Fantastic day. Huck Finn is awesome. All right, so I'm going to start out with the Eudora Legion Alliance Club. They had their canoe river run. This year was in memory of Chris Brunet. And the last time I saw Chris was actually golfing at the hospital tournament. So I golfed for them, and it was just, anyway, a perfect day for the canoeathon. Great memory of Chris. And incredible turnout, lots of people. I stayed dry, which is always positive. Then also on Saturday, we had the Fork in the Road 5K. That is at Wood Newton, and it raises money for Jumpstart. And then on Sunday, there was an Ontario Cup mountain bike race. And it's not too often Bartons win races. It wasn't me, but my nephew, who is an incredible cyclist, he won the elite race. So yeah, he's got a new coach who's Emily Batty's coach, and he's really upped his game this year.
Great.
And then one more thing, some really sad news as well. Sandy Mitchell, who was the founder of Windreach Farms, passed away on the weekend.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Incredible what that place has done for this community.
Wow, our condolences. That's terrible. Councillor Hyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just, I won't mention what's already been said, although the Huck Finn event was great, and I didn't get a fish, but anyway, we'll just hold it at that. The Legion had their garage sale on the weekend. I don't know if you had a chance to go by there. They're also selling tickets for the Catch the Ace, so if you get one of those chances, please participate in that. We had McHappy Day last Wednesday. I participated in that one. Unfortunately, I got stuck working with Lance Brown again, so it was it was more of a trial than a fun thing. I'm just kidding. Lance and I are former neighbors, so we got caught up. Also, we had a tree planting over at Harima Park on Saturday. The Ward 3 candidate, Bruce Garrett, was out, so that will be the new ward for Ward 3 moving forward. We planted about 150 trees. There was about 20-25 people out. Thank you to all those that participated. It's great to have people out working on the environment. The BIA has already been mentioned. We have Big Bike coming up this week. And yes, Laura, you can sign me up. My apologies for not getting back to you until now. That's to raise money for, for heart and stroke. So we'll all be hopefully out for that one. Let's pray for good weather. And that's about it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Beach.
Thank you, Councillor Chair. Good morning, everyone. With all the bad weather and the trees down and the shingles flapping in the wind, our Friday night experience was canceled. First time in the 27 years it was canceled, but we honored tickets for the next day. We had a great turnout. I can't wait to find out what the proceeds are for our recipient this year. So it was very good and a really good turnout, so thank you to the public. Gord's already mentioned about the Big Bike Ride. We have the Lions annual voluntary road toll at Zares this week, and also the Rotary Scrap Metal Day on Saturday from 9 till 3. And don't forget on Saturday, Maud's Circle of Friends Quilting up at the church in Leafdale, the historical church. And go up there, have some tea, and buy a pie and support them. And also this week we have the Museum Advisory Committee and the Historical Society meetings up at the school on Wednesday evening from 7 till 9. So if anybody's interested in coming out, volunteering, helping out, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beach. Just to touch on one of the notes you mentioned after Friday night, I certainly would like to have a big shout out to the EMS people in our Works Department and all the people who worked so hard this weekend. It was a mess, but you know, they did an excellent job cleaning up and getting our roads open again and taking care of us. So thank you to them for all the work that they do. This is also Emergency Preparedness Week, so it's kind of appropriate, I guess. And the only other thing I'll add is that Regional Chair O'Connor and I attended last Friday an event that really dealt with Uber and transportation in rural areas, and it was a fantastic seminar. We spent the day there, and we have a lot to report back on very, very soon. Alrighty, so let's go. Our first delegation this morning is Carly McDougall. Carly, you can either go to the podium or whichever you like. Lacey Cook and Meg Muirhead are with her, right?
Switch his slide? Yep. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm here for the 4th time, so thank you for having me. We're here to talk about our 4th annual Uxbridge Walk to Defeat Depression, which is happening on June the 10th. And I know a lot of you have come out to support us in the past, and we do hope we'll see you, rain or shine. This is my committee from last year, and this is our turnout we had from last year. When I started this, I had about 30 people come in the pouring rain, and last year we had over 200 come with their dogs and teams and everything, so it was a really fantastic day and gave us some great momentum moving forward. I wanted to talk a little bit about who we raise our money for. Ontario Shores is located in Whitby. However, it is the focal point for people in Uxbridge who need mental health care. And primarily, we're raising money for the Prompt Community Care Clinic. And this is where people who are in crisis, as I have been in the past, go for psychiatric help instead of having to go to the hospital. So it's a really important resource, and last year they saw in excess of 1,300 people last year on a great facility. And you get discharged into the care of your family doctor. They help you get on meds and calm down and everything. So certainly everyone on my committee has been there before, so it's a great resource for the town of Uxbridge. Oh. So I wanted to talk about last year. Starting out in 2014, raised about $1,400. And last year we really kicked some butt and raised, took us by surprise. So we're really hoping to match that goal this year. Before I introduce my speakers, I just want to know if anyone who's been there before or has seen me talk before has any questions about what we're doing or anything like that.
Questions? Councillor Hyatt?
Why would you hold the bar at 21,000? I would. And if you drew that on a curve, it's like an exponential curve.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great.
Well, last year we set it at 10, and we've set it at 10 again this year, and just
Okay.
we're waiting to see what happens.
I would
So,
just try and keep raising the bar. So
yeah.
Fabulous.
thanks, Carly.
And I know all of you know how to get in touch with me. If you have suggestions of businesses that we can contact, certainly we rely on the people who sign up and register and raise money, but we're always looking to knock on doors and have people give us money. So any help in that regard would be great.
Any other questions for Carly? No? Okay, Carly, go ahead.
So you've heard my story before, but I have two of my new committee members that are here today, Lacey Cook and Megan Muirhead. They're going to come and talk about their brother Jesse.
I'm Lacey. This is Megan.
Yes, okay.
Very emotional.
Okay, so to put it briefly, Jesse was our brother. He was depressed, and he was fighting his battles for many years before his passing. He had seen many doctors and counselors, but none of them seemed to connect with him or make him feel better about his illness. You would never know about meeting him that he was battling himself daily. He was 22, always smiling, and was a foreman of a very successful roofing company, a great father to his daughter Layla, and a caring partner to his girlfriend Brianna.
You're doing great. Keep going. You're doing great.
Thanks. Let me try.
Okay, sorry. Just all around amazing person. He'd give a hand to anyone who needed it and was exceptionally intelligent. A year before his passing, he attempted suicide but didn't succeed. We again tried to get him help he needed, but once again he wasn't able to connect with the right doctor or counselor. His depression, pressed the wrong thing here. His depression would come in waves. There would be great times and then he would dip into very low times. He had great family support, but he never believed it. A week before his passing, we admitted him to the Lindsay Hospital in fear that he would harm himself. To be honest, I believe putting him in there and not receiving the proper mental health care made him up his mind on committing suicide. Jesse took his own life by hanging himself late evening, early morning of July 7th, 8th. We continue to speak about him in this story. We believe it will bring the strength to someone else who may need it. And with that being said, we hope to raise awareness and end the stigma on mental health and create the change that it is needed. Thank you.
Thank you. You did a wonderful job. I know that's tough. Do we have any questions, anybody? I think that's enough said. Go ahead, Carly.
I forgot to ask you for money. Last year, you very graciously donated money, I believe, from your golf tournament, and we would be very pleased if you would be able to help us out again this year. And I also am hoping to get a picture, as in past years as well, if we could do that at the end. Thank you.
And Carly, I think you want permission also to use the Countryside Preserve for this, right? Wasn't that what the other ask?
Yes, you've
Okay.
already granted us
Great.
the preserve and waived the insurance for us. So
Oh, good, okay.
I also coming with their food truck.
Great.
Last year we found with people waiting around, they were hungry, and because we had such an influx of walk-in people, it sort of took us a longer time to get ready. So we were looking for something for people to do this year. So we've got the food truck coming. And also, a high school friend of my husband's actually is bringing a therapy pony, of all things.
Oh, wow.
His name is Red, and he's going to walk among the people, the walkers, and then do the trail itself. So we have that happening, and we also have, we got a custom backdrop made, and we're doing a photo booth this year. So teams that are coming and people walking can get photos done and then get them off our Facebook page afterwards. So new stuff happening this year as well.
Fantastic, Carly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Barton.
Carly, do you remember what we gave last year?
I
From the
believe
golf
it was $500
Okay.
last year.
So I'll make a motion to refer this to the golf fund.
Great, and maybe recommend $500 again. That'd be great.
Thank you.
Seconder?
Well, this is committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good. All those in favor? Great. Thank you, Councillor Barton. Thank you, Carly. Where do you want to do a picture?
Wherever. It's usually just at the front here.
Okay.
I don't want to disturb you too much
No,
by
that's
going
fine.
outside or anything.
All right. We'll just stand out front, everyone. Our next delegation is Tom Fowle. Tom, either the podium or wherever you're comfortable.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, members of council, my name is Tom Fowle, I think you know that, and I'm here today as the representative of an ad hoc group, some of whom are present, formed to make representations to you with regard to the process for the selection of interim mayor. The current situation, as we understand it, is that council has decided to appoint from within its own ranks the person who will serve as interim mayor until the next general election in October. If the person you choose does not plan to run for the office of mayor in the next election, we would be perfectly happy with that and it would be acceptable to us. And we would immediately cease any representations such as the one I'm making today. If, however, the person chosen plans to run for the full-time job of mayor, then I have to say that we would be very concerned that the person chosen would have a considerable advantage over any other contenders. This slide, which you can see on the screen, taken from the clerk's report of April the 23rd this year, identifies all of the duties of the office. And it is self-evident that the person occupying that position would enjoy considerable advantages over any other contender by reason of the exposure in the capacity of mayor. Even though he or she would hold office for only 6 months, that person would be identified as and would be the incumbent. I have copies of the submission, by the way, which I will distribute. Experience at all levels of government shows that incumbents enjoy a significant advantage and win more frequently than when candidates are on an equal footing. When our former mayor accepted the office of chair of the region of Durham, it was based on the express undertaking that she would not seek that office in the next election. There is therefore a clear precedent set by her and the region. Further, it is our belief that this is recognized good practice. The clerk's report identified 2 options for council to consider, namely appointment from current members of council or appointment from the public, and the clerk recommended the former. However, the clerk did not suggest that a nominee should give the undertaking previously mentioned. Further, it would appear that the recommendation was made in the absence of any input from the public at large. Given that the township solicits public input for many matters, some of which are relatively trivial, we are, to say the least, surprised that this practice apparently was bypassed for the selection of interim mayor. If council is unable to find a candidate who cannot give the undertaking we have suggested, then the alternative, namely appointment from the public, is the obvious option. The procedure for so doing is clearly set out in the clerk's report. In these circumstances, we most respectfully urge council to adopt this procedure. I'll now get to slide 2 if I can use this thing. There we go. If we look at part of this slide, And I'm not going to read it all because time doesn't permit me to do that. But in part, let's see, my pointer will work, I think. I'm going to read from from this part here. I'm not ignoring this, I just don't have time for my presentation. Appointment from the public. There could also be potential advantages to soliciting interested and qualified individuals for appointment, including finding someone who is engaged and has the experience required to fill the position and whose appointment would not result in a further vacancy from current council. Council has sole discretion in determining how to select the candidate for appointment. In the GTA, municipalities have authorized an appointment process which uses an open call for qualified applicants and a public meeting to allow deputations from the applicants. Municipalities have also filled vacancies by appointing the candidate from the preceding election who received the most votes but was not elected. We believe that a solicitation for the position will yield suitably qualified candidates that meet the criteria for the position as set out in the clerk's report. Our township is well endowed with people with successful careers who could bring their experience and skills to the office of interim mayor. In summary, Mr. Chairman, we are concerned that a vote of a small group of councillors, possibly as small as 3, could install one candidate as the incumbent mayor with significant advantage over other candidates. We believe our mayor should be chosen by election in a general election where all candidates compete on a level playing field. We suggest 2 alternative ways to resolve this issue. Namely, 1, only considering candidates from council who do not plan to run for the full-time job of mayor. Or 2, making an appointment outside the present council. Mr. Chairman, we most respectfully urge council to take the appropriate steps needed to resolve this issue by adopting the good practices identified in this presentation. And finally, on behalf of the entire group whom I represent today, I thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak to this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Fowle. I would like to comment on one comment that you did make. I think it's disrespectful to suggest that Mayor O'Connor was appointed regional chair because she wasn't running again. There were many regional councillors that weren't running again next year. Mayor O'Connor was elected unanimously because of the respect she had from her peers. So I really find it disrespectful to suggest that she was elected because she wasn't running again. And by the way, that's not a requirement at the region, just to be clear. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Tom, for your presentation. Certainly it was well thought out. One thing that does jump out to me, and I know this is a bit of an elephant in the room, but what I didn't hear was what's best for the township. You know, what's best for all...
I'm sorry, I'm not here very well.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can speak up. What I didn't hear is what's best for the township. What I heard from you was that one person would have an unfair advantage over another person. I didn't hear what's best for the township in the interim. So perhaps you can clarify how your thought process benefits the residents. And I agree with you, the next election, absolutely, the residents will vote for mayor. But explain to me how this benefits the residents.
What's best for council? I think if council could find someone who met the criteria we're suggesting, that would be the best option.
So you say that benefits the township if we find... Sorry, that benefits the township residents better if we find someone else?
Yeah. in the absence of that, then I think what would be best for the township would be to solicit from outside.
Mhm.
And we believe, there are people who could occupy that role perfectly well.
So, I guess my next point, and it's very easy for me to say this because I am not running for mayor, so I can certainly give that opinion. I think that we have a $25 million corporation running it right now without a CEO. We need to have somebody in that position. We've had 2 events in the last couple of weeks that could have been a crisis situation with the ice storm and then certainly with the windstorm. We need to have someone in place who can take that rudder. And I do appreciate what you've said, but I think that currently council has made that decision, that we are going to vote from within. We made that motion, and as far as I'm concerned, it's going to stay that way. I'm comfortable with it staying that way. I can't speak on behalf of everyone else, but I am comfortable with the decision that council voted for. But thank you for your presentation.
Any other questions? Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, Tom, thanks. As always, you bring light where there's darkness. If I can just make a comment, I agree with most of what you've said. I think going out to the general public in the short time frame that we have available to us, this could drag on for several months, and Councillor Bryan has sort of hit it that we need someone up and running sooner rather than later. Having said that, I agree. Whoever this person is, they would have a definite advantage by sitting as the interim person. Having said that, we only have 6 of us here that are, I guess, willing and or able to fulfill that position. So it's going to be a chain reaction thing. Whoever that person is, their seat will then become vacant. So the same rules would apply. In other words, now we have to either go to the public or find some criteria to establish who that person is. And if they are thinking of running in that ward or whatever for that position, it gives them a definite advantage over the general populace. So I totally agree with what you're saying there. I don't know if there's a way, obviously the clerk has to report in on this for next week, if there's a way that we can, I don't think demand is the right word, but secure the fact that that person wouldn't be running for that position. I don't know if council can be put in a position that we could create that requirement or not. Again, I would have to defer to the clerk to talk about that. But I think you're right. It does give that person a definite advantage over whomever else decides to run. So having said that, I will defer to the clerk on what the next steps would be. So thank you, Tom.
Could I, Mr. Deputy Mayor, respond to both of those comments? As I understand the situation, Council has 60 days from, I think, April the 23rd to make an appointment, which extends the time roughly to the end, near the end of June. And I assume, I don't know, I didn't write the act, I wasn't there when it was written, but I assume that one of the reasons for giving a 60-day period is for our councils, when they're faced with a situation such as we have, to give them time to think about the decision they make and to make a carefully thought out decision in the best interests of the community. And to respond to Councillor Bryan's comment, I have to say, what difference does it really make? There are 6 of you. You're going to have difficult decisions to make, regardless of who's in the chair of interim mayor, whether it's one of you or somebody from outside. The 6 of you who have now served for years and who are well experienced in your roles, surely among you, you can collectively make good decisions and, if necessary, help the person who's sitting in the chair of interim mayor.
Thank you. Would someone like to bring correspondence 90 forward? We may as well bring that forward now, Councillor Barton. Okay, so a motion to bring it forward. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Barton.
Tom, thank you very much for coming in. I agree with the majority of what you've said, and I've already put my name forward for the next election as a candidate for mayor, so I would not accept an appointment for mayor, just to take my name out of the running. To agree with you.
What would you like to do with correspondence 90? Make a motion to receive. Councillor Bryan. All those in favor? Carried.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Our next delegation is Paul Riley, from Paul Riley and Associates, regarding the proposed rezoning for 34 and 36 Brock Street. Alrighty, back to order. Mr. Riley, if you wouldn't mind just turning your mic on there. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for your time today. I'm here representing my client, Maria Guido, and her business. Maria's been a member of the community here in Uxbridge since 2001. Since 2008, she's had a building and a business, this building right here.
If you could try to stay as close to the mic, the reason is we're
recording.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Where's?
And is it the middle one? Alexa.
This button right here, that's your laser pointer.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Once again, I'm representing Maria Guido. There's been a bylaw that we've had to put an appeal in, and when she came to me and said, listen, there's an issue here I have. I've been in this location for over 10 years. This is her building here. She has her professional building downstairs. Upstairs here are apartments that she rents. It goes all along the side here. The bylaw that's been affected or being considered is to put a two-story building right here beside her. And that, I would suggest, is problematic. And excuse me, let me just play this. Play this thing now.
So look at the mouse on the big screen.
Oh, then, okay, that's it. Great, thank you. So the idea being that they're going to put up a two-story building here now, clearly is going to go up to here. Every window on this side of the building will be rendered useless. We've got a young couple up there now with a young child. That's the only light that comes into their building, into their apartment. In essence, by the city going through with their proposed bylaw and to put a two-story building here, this shuts this building down, changes it from an apartment to essentially a storage unit. Maria's going to be hard-pressed to find a tenant to rent that space. Even the people there now are already complaining about the potential of what this place is going to look like when they look outside their window. Literally 3 feet away, they're going to be looking into a wall, I'm sure, because certainly no one's going to put windows up on this side, or that would be even more problematic for my client. And that's actually the tenant. While I was recording this that day, you already hear her voicing some of her displeasure in terms of the construction, the problems that are going to exist when this starts happening. So it's twofold problems, really. The construction that's going to be involved here is going to diminish the traffic going in and out of her building, her hairdressing salon right now. That's going to be problematic. These things always tend to take a lot longer than City Council anticipate. I know that. Prior to being a lawyer in these things, I was a municipal reporter for the CBC in Toronto, and I know when the city says something's going to take 6 months, quite conceivably that could be years in the doing. So the problem exists that when the construction part of this proposed renovation starts, it's going to be problematic going in and out of her facility. it's going to affect our business bottom line downstairs. Upstairs, you're now rendering an apartment, essentially turning it into a storage unit. No one's going to want to rent that apartment unit with no lights coming in. It's like when we go to a hotel room and we open the blinds to see what the view is. If we're looking at a wall outside that room, invariably we're going to go downstairs to the front desk and say, hey, I want another room. That's the same thing that's going to happen here, because the people living there now are not going to stay, and new people, it's going to be hard to find anyone who will want to take that unit. So my question is, Maria's been in that spot for 10 years. No one communicated with her on this initiative. No one got her involvement. No one asked for her point of view. No one said, how is this going to affect your business? You are our constituent. You pay your taxes here. All right? The city council, we work with you, for you, to make your life in Uxbridge good. This does not make it good. This makes it problematic. It's going to cost her a lot of money going forward. And this is our first step in this appeal, is to come to council, make her point known, and hope that you guys rethink this bylaw, or at the very least, let's make a variance on it and change it. If you're going to build there, it can't be 2 stories, because you're putting her in a detrimental position in terms of her business and her livelihood.
Great. Are you done, Mr. Riley?
Thank you.
You finished? Great. Okay. Any questions? Councillor Hyatt.
Just more of a procedural one through you to Ingrid. Are we at liberty to be discussing this situation if there is an appeal, an active appeal?
Ingrid? We probably should be receiving it.
What's happened is council has approved the bylaw already. There's a process for this now. It's the replacement to what was the OMB. That's where it's been filed. Maria has filed the application and paid the $300. It's now in the hands of our solicitor and our planner, and it will end up at this new body to get it resolved.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to bring correspondence 84 forward? Councillor Bryan. Alrighty, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Riley. Thanks for coming in today. Alrighty, we will call the Finance and Emergency Services Committee to order. First item is correspondence 60. Oh, didn't we receive the correspondence? Oh, I'm sorry. Would somebody make a motion to receive the correspondence? Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Once again, we'll call Finance and Emergency Services Committee to order. First item is correspondence 67 from the Ministry of Housing regarding development charges rebate. Any comments? What would you like to do with the council? Councillor Hyatt, received for information. All those in favor? Carried. Item 68, Township of Brock, regarding the provincial increase in provincial funding for our Ontario Public Libraries. That funding hasn't gone up, I think he says in there it's 20 years. We get about $2,600 a year from it. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, we made a motion, I think, a couple meetings ago where we supported this, so
Yeah.
I think we'll receive this one because we've already supported this
Great,
idea.
thank you. Motion to support by Councillor Barton. Do you have a question, Councillor Hyatt?
I did. Sorry, I overlooked my notes here. Just on the last point, I guess through you to Donna, are we going to that debrief that they were talking about in the memo? There was something that said, appreciate the time you took to offer the expression of interest and encourage you to participate future. It says, if desired, ministry staff would be pleased to provide a debrief to you or your staff regarding the evaluation of your submission over the summer months. Are we intending to debrief, or we can? Sorry, I forgot to mention that one.
Ingrid, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, we can. We understand they just had far too many applications, but we will connect with them.
But if there's something we could be doing better the next intake, maybe it might be good to debrief. Thank you.
Great. So we have a motion to receive by Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Carried. Reports to committee. Oh, I have one on the addendum, I think. Correspondence 92. Elizabeth Booker. This is to add some corn crib fencing. Councillor Hyatt. Oh, I'm sorry. What's my first one? This one. Sorry, Crystal Matthews. I'm sorry. The first one, Crystal Matthews.
Mr. Chair, I'll support.
Mayor, Councillor Hyatt.
Well, now you've said it.
Motion to wow. Councillor Hyatt's made a motion to support it. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Reports to committee, report PWO 3018 of Ben Kester. This is regarding the purchase of a tandem truck. Councillor Bryan,
I'll support the recommendation. With
any
the
questions,
additional-
comments? All those in favor? Carried. Report to committee TR 1618 of Donna Condon. This is, regarding 34 Anderson Boulevard, return of letter credit. Councillor Beach.
Yes, Donna's recommended it, everything's in place.
Great. So you're moving the recommendation?
Yes, please.
All's in favor? Carried. Report TR 1718 of Donna Condon. This is regarding the, proposed development charges bylaw, Durham Region. Comments, questions? Councillor Hyatt.
It's a question, I don't know if, Donna, you can answer this. Why would they consider the commercial aspect of this if they're tackling industrial? Is there, I know it's not mandated by the DC study. Is there, do you have any comment, I guess, is the question?
So we did check with the region with that, and from the commercial community, they're not getting
Yeah,
such requests.
Well, as you all know, that's kind of my other hat that I wear. I'm surprised and a bit shocked that the community didn't even submit anything, so. You know, and then they have the gall, if I can say, to increase it by 29.3%.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know.
What would you like
I'm
to do?
disappointed, let's say it that way.
What would you like to do with this, Councillor Hyatt?
Leave it. Support the recommendation.
Great. Any other questions or
And
comments?
if you're talking to them, you might want to ask them why they didn't include commercial.
All's in favor? Carried. Report PR 0918 Bob Ferguson. This is regarding the wooden bleachers at Elgin Park. Councillor Bryan.
Support the recommendation.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Hyatt.
One, is this pressure treated wood, Bob? So the longevity.
Bob, would you come up and answer that, would you mind?
Sorry, I didn't. I wanted to get you while you were here.
Yes, it is. It's all pressure treated.
So what would the lifespan be approximately on the new build?
I'm guessing probably 15 to 20 years.
15 to 20?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barton.
Bob, there was also some regulations, I think, that changed on how high these bleachers can be. Does this solve that as well?
That's for our bleachers that we move around,
okay.
that have those regulations. These are our fixed bleachers. So
Oh, okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yep.
Would somebody like to move the recommendation? Councillor Hyatt. No other questions? All's in favor? Carried. This is DB 0218 of Councillor Dave Barton regarding Canada Day fundraising. Questions? Oh, did I miss one? Sorry, Bob. Report PR 1018 of Bob Ferguson regarding the ball diamond fencing repairs. Any questions or comments? Councillor Bryan.
I'll support the recommendation.
Councillor Barton.
Just a quick question. In order to, Mr. Ferguson, sorry, in order to quote on something like this, it says you have to go to a mandatory meeting. How many people pick up the tender documents but don't actually come to the meetings?
Because a lot of stuff is advertised on our website now, we have a lot of people that will pick up packages, review what's involved in the tender or the quote. It depends. The size of the job really dictates how many people we'll see, and local contractors. If they want to come, if a local contractor can handle the scope of work, we'll see a lot of local. If the job's not big enough, then we won't see outsiders come in.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's random. It can vary.
What I'm wondering about, most contractors, especially this time of year, might be too busy to go to a meeting like this,
yeah,
but might be able to schedule the work. I wonder if we could do it maybe a different way where, they watched a video or called into a teleconference or something, so if someone's on a job site, some of our smaller contractors, so they're not torn whether or not to come to this that's not a guaranteed job versus...
Yeah, we could look
Not
into
sure.
that,
Yeah,
for sure.
just conference or, I don't know.
Sure. No, I have no problem looking into that.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Call me.
So what would you like to do? Move the recommendation? No other questions? Councillor Hyatt.
Question, Mr. Chair. Bob, you had an earlier report on safety. Is this the follow-up to that?
Yes, this will address all the
Alleviating
safety.
all those issues? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Great. No other questions? All those in favor? Report DB 0218 regarding Canada Day fundraising.
Yeah, I can briefly speak to this, but,
Go ahead.
we have to raise a significant amount of money to make this event work. It was extremely successful last year. Because we're in an election cycle right now, township staff wanted me to make sure that I had council approval before, Councillor Ballinger and I were knocking on doors, and maybe Councillor Beach if she has time.
Great. Someone like to move? Councillor Hyatt?
Move it. I just wanted to ask, through you to Dave, are we talking corporate donations here? What are you going after?
We're gonna go over the same people as last year. Because it's not the 150, we're expecting smaller donations this year.
Okay. Do
so
you have
we'll
a
we
target
may
in
have
mind?
to, what's that?
Do you have a financial target in mind here? or-
I have a spreadsheet, you know me.
Yeah.
I think
Well, it's not attached to your report.
Yeah,
so-
it's, I think it's about $9,000 that we're gonna need.
9,000.
Yeah, I can show you the numbers if you want to see.
And that would be for fireworks and bands and...
Oh, no. So we need, on top of the funding that we already get, the gate revenue, the money the council put in,
Okay.
then we need about an additional $9,000. The
So
total
I guess-
event is about 20.
So if you're gonna go to a corporate entity and say, we need money for, like, do you have a short list of projects that you
Oh.
need the money for? Or?
So we spend $10,000 on fireworks, we're gonna spend about $4,500 on entertainment with the stage.
So
The
you're
animal show's about $1,000.
So you're gonna ask them, would you mind sponsoring the show or whatever?
Yeah, and so that's what we did last year, and that, the plan is to do.
It's project-based, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks, Dave.
So Councillor Hyatt's moved the recommendation. Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. This is report CL 2718 from Catalina. One little typo there, Catalina. I think it should say 2,000 instead of 200. Is that it there? Oh, I can't find it now. There.
Oh, yeah, not
Or $2, whatever, okay. What would you like to do with that? Yeah, it's cheap. Councillor Hyatt's moving the recommendation. Any other questions or comments? All's in favor? Carried. Is there any unfinished business? Under other business, I think, Councillor Bryan, you have a request?
Yes, I'd like to make a request that council, support the prayer breakfast, and we get a check for $160 to pay for the table. We had done this in the past, and I just need to have it motioned in the minutes that this is something we would support.
I think, well, we thought we did too, but apparently it
I
isn't.
thought we did, but there's no paperwork on it, so that's why I'm resubmitting it.
I think the
we did.
suggestion was it came out of corporate funds too as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so, because I thought we had done it, but we hadn't, so.
Okay. Anyway, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Accounts for April 2018. Are there any questions for the accounts? Someone like to move the accounts? Councillor Hyatt? Sorry. Councillor Beach. There. It just came over the top of that thing, just a little bit. Councillor Beach, are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Barton?
Just one, and that is on the tax rebates. That is the lesser amount, right, Donna? Through you to Donna. I think we issued checks as rebates to some of the local businesses that were vacant. That would be half the amount that they would have gotten last year.
So
Go ahead,
those-
Donna.
So those were vacancy rebates.
Yeah.
Now, those would have been 2017 vacancy rebates paid in 2018.
Oh, okay.
So it's starting in 2018 where we're going to be phasing those out.
Okay.
So they won't see those payouts until 2019. 2018 vacancy rebates will be paid out in 2019.
Okay, and then just for confirmation, those, if all the vacancies remain the same, we'll be paying half next year that we paid this year.
Yes.
Perfect. That's just one question.
That's the new policy, for sure.
Great. Thank you.
Great move by Councillor Beach. Are there any other questions of the accounts? All's in favor? Carried. Just do it again, let's see. I think, oh, that's better. That's what we need. That's what we need. Press, any questions? Mr. Varley first. I saw him first, Moya.
Yes, sir. In Mr. Ferguson's report on the ball diamond repairs, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Sierra Group sort of put Uxapool Diamond and the Arena Diamond on the endangered list, possibly be closed down at some time in the near future? And if that's the case, why would we be spending money on repairs to those diamonds?
Bob, would you like to come forward, please?
Yes, those 2 diamonds were mentioned in the report, but those diamonds currently will still be active for the teams that we have playing. And these are safety repairs that have to be done in order for them to play for the next few years.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Moya?
Sorry, I just didn't quite catch what Councillor Bryan said. What was the money for? That was just
Oh, for the prayer breakfast?
prayer breakfast. Okay, thank you.
It's for a table at the prayer breakfast.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the press? No? I will turn this over to tourism, heritage, and community programs.
Thank
Pam.
you. Yes.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have asked anybody in the audience with a question. You're right. Anybody in the audience with a question? Great. I'll turn it over to Tourism, Heritage, and Community Programs Committee.
Thank you.
Councillor Beach.
I'd like to open Tourism, Heritage, and Community Program Committee. Report to committee. Report RC 0818 of Pat Neal, Manager Curator of the Uxbridge Historical Centre. Read the Horseshoe Pits at the Historical Centre. Actually, Pat, if you'd like to come up to one of the mics, please. Okay. Also, Bob Curvin, if you want to be on hand, to answer any questions and add to.
I'll make a motion that Mr. Curvin be added to them.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Okay. Pat, do you want to just give us a little bit of information, and then maybe Bob, whichever one you want to start with? It's kind of Bob's baby.
Hi, I'm Bob Curvin. I'm on the board of the Uxbridge Historical Society for the last few years. A bit of history about the horseshoe pitches is that they were built in 2010. We have 2 of them, and they're next to the Nesbitt barn. There's a fellow by the name of Ken Watts. He's our 92-year-old professional. He's probably the best horseshoe player around. But he said we should be doing something with those pits. Now, this is from 2010. They were built by Jack Ballinger and some of the boys from the Legion. So 2010, they just went sort of unoccupied. So in 2016, with Ken Watts' suggestion, we decided to hold a competition at Heritage Days. And the competition was 3 horseshoes for $2. Get a ringer, I'll give you 10. That's a great business. I only had one guy that won the $10 and he gave it back to me, you know. But anyways, so what we decided to do, we picked up some names and telephone numbers of fellows that participated in the competition. And then the next year, 2000, but anyways, I put my name and my telephone number in the ad saying we're starting a horseshoe club, and give me a call. I got 10 calls, and so I ran another ad the following week, and I said the horseshoe club now in operation. We have 10 members, ages 55 to 92, average age 70. It's never too late to take up the game. So then after that ad, I got another 22. So you had 32 players just like that. I was hoping to go after the curling club and the senior center and the Legion and all the churches and so on and build it up to maybe 100 players. But then I realized with only 32 and 2 pitches, that was sort of max. So we had to stop soliciting any new players. So it's worked out extremely well. And one other thing, too, is that people said, how much is this going to cost us? I know Amanda... Is she here? Amanda said, how much are we going to make out of this? And I said, well, the first year, let's just play it by ear and see what's going to happen. But one of the suggestions that's come forward, and I used it last year as well, is that what about putting the cost of participating in the Horseshoe Club at the cost of a membership in the Uxbridge Historical Society? That's $15 for a single and $25 for a family. And I looked at it, I think that's a win-win situation. It's reasonable, and horseshoe is not an expensive sport. Like, there's no cost once you've got them built. And so it's a win-win situation as far as the club is concerned, because then we'll get more people interested in the Heritage Days, and we will probably get some volunteers from the 32 players, plus what we're going to do in the future. So I'm going to propose that this year is that the cost of membership to play will be the $15 single and $25 for the family. And then I thought one step further is that we have 128 members in the society now, so maybe in the future what we do is that we can make all those 128 people available to play horseshoes as well, because they've already paid their fees. And so if we promote that to those 128 players, or the people that belong to the club, that perhaps they will come forward and participate as well. And then one other thing too is that Rebecca Stoddard, when we first started talking about expanding to 4 more courts, she got excited because she said, I want my youth and I want my young families to participate in horseshoes. So I think she's very positive about this as well. But I'll let Pat talk about where the locations will be, and if you have any questions, I'll be pleased to answer.
Well, Bob and I have met on site on several occasions, and we haven't exactly pinned down the location, but we will come to an agreement, likely to the east side of the apple orchard.
Any questions? Councillor Barton?
More of a comment. Great idea. Whatever we can do to get more people up to the top of that hill is great. The view, thanks for your initiative, Bob, and I completely support it.
Councillor Hyatt?
Thank you. I hope you're not knocking the top of the hill. I mean, that's a nice place to be. So. I know. I just love the fact that you have a 92-year-old player, Bob. And you mentioned in your talk about attracting youth. Is there a way you could go knock on the door of the Expert Youth Center and say, hey guys, have you thought about putting a team in or something like that? Because I think, you know, to what you spoke about, I think that it's the future we need to look to too. Not that the present is good, but if you can get young players involved, I think it would be awesome, you know.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Food for thought, anyway.
Yeah, I'll go and approach the youth.
Or even the high school. I mean, there could be kids there that, you know, had never been exposed to it, they hadn't thought about it, and hey, that's a cool idea. You know, it's free,
yeah.
Basically, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll mention it to Tish over at the high school.
Tish, yeah, that would be a good spot.
She's the one to run with it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, just one other thing too is that Jack Ballinger and my 92-year-old friend, we met yesterday to take a look over for additional areas. The problem with the area, of course, is that there's the town, and it's difficult to find a flat piece of property. The areas we found, sort of 3 areas. Number 1 is along the fence of the waterworks, okay, right there, and they'd be facing north-south, and it's fairly flat, but Jack said we'd probably have to do a bit of grading, okay? And number 2 is there's a flat piece right in behind the printer's building. Now that's used for parking for Heritage Days, so that would take up a fairly 58 feet by 58 feet, so it's a fairly large area. It would take up some of the parking area for the Heritage Days. But I said to Jack, I said, well, you know, the pitches would be open for 180 days, and Heritage is 1 day, so that's one thing to think about, is that the usage. Do we go 1 day, or do we use 160 days? So that's a nice flat area. And then the other area that Ken Watts suggested is between the apple trees. And there's enough room between the new apple trees to put in a horseshoe pitch. And that would be sort of a nice spot as well. So we sort of have 3 spots, but I think because of the fact that Jack is looking at leveling out that area by the fence, we would like to get approval to go ahead with the 4 pitches in the near future, because I want to get going and start talking to some of the other organizations and people around to get them involved.
Thank you, Bob. From a little idea and beginning, it's growing, and it's lovely to get seniors, you know, and breaking it into the families. I think it's a wonderful idea, and it's a great way to get more people up to the museum site, make them aware, and trusting that some of them get involved with the committees for there, or just involved with the museum site. Just to step back a little bit, Pat, I don't think you haven't been here to council to properly introduce you. So this is Pat Neal, our new curator at the museum. And she's doing a wonderful job, a lot of enthusiasm, so I'm so glad to have you on board. And you're coming up with some cool new ideas, which, you know, fresh ideas are always good to stimulate the community.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Councillor Bryan.
Just one thing, welcome, first off, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bob, I think it's a great idea. I think between the apple trees it'd be perfect. I hope you're planning to have this going this year. Is this the idea?
Hopefully, yes, yeah,
So I think if we
hopefully.
get, one of the reasons I'm saying for the apple trees, because then if we don't have to grade, then we can get it moving that much faster.
That's right.
And certainly, you know, whatever we can do to help, as you know, we're all supportive of things like that. Maybe we'll all take up horseshoes.
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
right, I'm right in that wheelhouse. They
I
have to
think
drop
so.
their age by 1.
Yeah, okay. Well, Jack's aware of all the spaces, so I'll
Perfect.
give him a call tonight to say that the presentation was made. The other thing too is that we play it Tuesday nights at 6:30, depending where the sun is. But anyway, we play Tuesday nights at 6:30, and we play for a couple of hours, and everybody gets a chance to play 3 games, and then we go over to the second wedge, which is a good spot.
Okay, sign me up, Bob.
and then going to the second wedge gives us the opportunity to talk about politics and religion and our council.
Did you want to come have a seat
So
here,
you better come out.
That's great, Bob. Thanks very much.
So maybe they'd like to be a sponsor, Bob. You can go talk to them.
Nobody's moved. Has anyone moved this recommendation? If
No,
not, I
they
will.
haven't.
I'll move that recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Bryan. All Okay, Fred.
There we go. We're back. We're live again now, I think.
No. Oh, there, now. Oh, thanks, Fred. Okay, any unfinished business? Any other business? I'd like to know if the press has any questions? Yes, Roger?
On the horseshoe pitches, I was wondering if council will be requiring the use of helmets, not for the players, but for the spectators.
Can I answer that question? Can I answer that question?
Yes, Councillor Barton.
That's only if they go to the second wedge before they play.
Anyone else on the press? Anyone from the audience? Okay, I'd like to close Tourism, Heritage, and Community Program Committee and pass it on to Parks, Facilities, and Arenas. And that's Mr. Barton today.
That's me today, yes. Jack doesn't miss very many meetings, so I don't think I've done this before. So I will I'm terrified. So I'll open this meeting of Parks, Facilities, and Arena. The first item is PR 11-18 from Bob Ferguson, Minister of the Arena Parks. In the addendum? Oh, can you pass me that? I do, but it's, okay. So, first item of correspondence is item number 92, and this is, just a second, is that on the second? Oh, sorry guys, there it is. This is from Elizabeth Booker, the request to add the corn crib to the existing fencing bordering her property to alleviate the trespassing problem. Is there anyone who can speak to this?
I just had a question. I'm not 100% sure where it is. Where is this?
And I knew I was filling in about
Okay.
a minute ago, so.
I would have got it for you, June. Does anybody know?
I can explain where it is, if
Yeah,
that
please.
helps you.
Or what about for,
If anybody's familiar with Byam and Willis Courts, they both back to the Quaker Common. So right now, there's a post and rail fence that's township property that backs these properties. Some people have built up privacy fences. This one doesn't. It just has the post and rail. And what's happening is people are using that yard to get from the common over to Center Road without having to walk around. So they're basically jumping the fence and cutting through this person's yard. which if you know the number of kids back there, some days it can be quite a volume of people doing this. I guess my question to Bob is, what do you consider to be corn crib? Are we talking about lattice? What are we talking here?
Okay, so I met on site with Ms. Booker. I didn't know what corn crib was myself, but it's basically like chain link fence, only it's a rectangle shape rather than the diamond shape.
Right.
Her neighbor has it on, the neighbor to the north of her has it on half of their fence.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to stop the problem. I asked her what she would like to see done. She's looking for any efforts to try and alleviate the problem of the traffic. And there's actually enough traffic going through there that you can see a little pathway.
There's actually a pathway, exactly.
There's a pathway going, So if you go into the end of Willis Court, right to the very end, there's two houses that sit there, and they're cutting right through the middle. Right now, the neighbor to the north of her, the house is vacant. They're in the process of selling, so she can't act on her own or deal with her neighbor right now. So that's also part of the issue.
Mm-hmm. I would support this, Bob. I mean, are we talking about a cost-sharing thing here? What's the plan?
Yeah, so with our fencing, basically it's a shared fence, and the split rail is what was put in Quaker Village when it was built.
Right.
So our obligation is to maintain in that shared fence. If the fence was to come down, we'd have a shared cost. If someone wants to put up a privacy fence, we would be on the hook to go to we only have to replace what's existing.
Mm-hmm.
If they choose to go to a more elaborate privacy fence, we're still only committed to replacing what's there, the cost of what's there. So the fence isn't falling down. This is in addition to what's there.
An add-on, right?
It's an add-on to what's there, yes.
So are you suggesting that we refer this to you? I mean, I think I'll let you deal with it. I don't know what Mrs. Booker's idea is on cost sharing. Maybe that's something that you could talk about.
She initially talked to bylaw.
She did?
I'm not,
Okay.
Yeah, and then it was referred to me, so I met with her. She's looking for a shared cost, like she's willing to pay for half of the cost on the corn crib, yes.
Yeah, and she's also installed these no trespassing signs. So if you get a chance to go over there, but Bob's absolutely right that this path has been carved basically on her property, so we need to do something here. So thanks, Dave. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Malloy?
So Bob, a split rail is usually what, like 2.5, 3 feet high? It's not very tall. I haven't seen the fence, and the corn cribbing's at least 4 feet, right?
Yeah.
So you might have to put a whole pile of poles in here too, as well, right?
No. So what the neighbor did was they just strapped the corn crib to the existing rail fence. So right now they're coming in and they're going through the fence. Typically, they're not climbing over the split rail.
Oh, okay.
So if you attach the corn crib to the side where the rails are running, it would make it quite difficult to hop over.
Okay. Any other comments on that? So is there a motion to...
I'll make a motion that Bob approaches Ms. Booker on the cost sharing and report back onto it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Thanks.
All right. The next one is... You might as well stay there, Bob. The next one is the report number 11-18 from Bob in regards to the dressing rooms and the Uxbridge Bruins. Councilor Malloy?
Just a question. I mean, it sounds like it needs a dehumidifier in the room. Is that all it needs? Like, rather than going to some huge expense. Anyway.
They've ran some just portable plug-in dehumidifiers, and it does keep the moisture out of the room, but it doesn't get rid of the smell. The fact that they leave their equipment stored in there after practices and games for multiple nights, it can get quite nasty in that room.
That's a polite way of putting it.
Yeah.
So, Bob, you've got HVAC experience. What should we do there? What would be the best thing to alleviate this issue?
It needs additional ventilation. So all the dressing rooms are connected to the ventilation system for all the dressing rooms, and ours continues down into the Bruins room. It's the last room at the end of the corridor. Unfortunately, it doesn't remove enough moisture and the smell of the equipment because, like I say, it's stored in there where all our other dressing rooms are. It's taken out, nothing's stored in there. They're mopped and cleaned at the end of the night. They really need their own ventilation system if they want to store equipment in there on a regular basis. That's what they would need to do. It wouldn't be a cheap cost. We've looked at outside walls. Don't like going through the roof, so you try and go to an outside wall. They would have to go over top of our Olympia room. There would be a substantial cost involved to put additional ventilation in there.
Go ahead, Fred.
So Bob, is it possible that you could come back with some sort of report that gives us an actual cost on that, how much it's going to be, before we agree to it?
No, I could. I'm not asking for that in my report.
No, I know, but I'm just kind of predate it because I know that's going to be the next stage, right?
Yeah, so...
I get what you're asking for here, but I'm thinking the next thing is going to be, is it 10,000 or is it 50,000? So if you could come back with that next time?
Sure.
That'd be
Yep,
great.
I can
Thank you.
that.
Councillor Moy?
Just a quick question. You referred to dressing room 11. Was that the referee's room? Or am I
No,
wrong?
we have 4 dressing rooms on pad 2.
Yeah.
Dressing room 11 is the last room that abuts to the Bruins room.
Oh, it's right. It's on the same side.
It's on the
Oh,
same
okay.
side.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, and Bob, is the Bruins room at the very end? Is it closest to the Olympia room?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
Yeah. So they want to, what's happening now is the Bruins use their room and then they try and shower in room 11 to try and keep the moisture down, give them more space. They are big kids, so, and they carry 21 players on their roster that they dress each night, which is a lot, right? So what's happening is they're coming out of their room, going into room 11 with their towels on, and the women's league is playing at the same time on the other side, and the women's league walks down the hallway to store their to store their sweaters in the far corner. So there's some interaction there.
My wife used to volunteer to take those sweaters back.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get this one back under control. Now let's talk about the concrete wall part of this. Your recommendation on that and the cost involved?
Yeah, so they're going to cover the cost to do it. They'll have to put a proper lintel in and make sure that everything's up to code. What that will do is allow them access to come into room 11 directly from their room. There are a couple things that I would like to have in place with the Bruins as far as an agreement goes. Things like they can't store anything in room 11. They only have access during their time. It would also involve removing a section of, probably about a 3-foot section of bench. I would like, instead of losing that section of bench in the room, I'd like them to put the bench on a hinge. So when they're using it, it can be propped up. When they're not using it, which will be 99% of the time, we still have that space in the dressing room for our daily users.
Okay. Councillor Hyatt?
If they're showering in 11, Bob, why would they not be using the one they're in now as well, or do they?
No, they don't. So they have their room is equipped with a toilet sink and a
Toilet
double
sink
shower.
Right.
It's
right.
actually the largest shower. Their room is the largest room and have the largest shower.
So they're not using that at all then?
They don't use that at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand putting that door in for obvious reasons, but
yeah.
I think your recommendation not to decommission it, you just cap it or whatever, and
Yeah, I don't. There's a when you first
down
go,
the road, who knows what we're going to be
That's
using
right.
it for, right? So
when you first go into the Bruins dressing room, it's just basically a privacy wall that you would run into. It's a non-load bearing wall. I'd like to see them maintain the shower stall. They can cap it, but I'd like to see them maintain that shower wall in there until we see how this works out.
okay. So you're going to come back with that report then?
Yeah, that's what my recommendation is. Council's in favor of that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bob.
I'll move the recommendation if you like.
Okay. So all those Catalina?
So just for clarification for the minute, so we're doing a friendly amendment on the current recommendation, or just to add that he come back with a report with cost options before the agreement, or removing the recommendation as is?
So I believe what we're doing is we're moving Bob's recommendations on his report, but also asking for him for his
a future report.
For
right?
a future report on costing involved with solving the humidity issues.
Right.
Slash.
Same page, Bob? Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Catalina, you're good? Okay. Councillor Malloy moved that. All those in favor? Okay, that is passed. And I believe that's it, but this took too long, so my computer fell asleep. Give me 1 second, there we go. And now I will close this meeting of Parks, Facilities and Arena, and I'll pass this over to myself. Oh, unfinished business? Any other business? Questions for the press? The audience? All right, so now I'll close the meeting of Parks, Facilities and Arena, and I'll open this meeting of Sustainability, Watershed, Conservation. I'll start with item number 69. This is from the TRCA, the realignment of corporate business units into corporate services. Yes.
Let's make a motion to receive.
Okay, all those in favor of receiving? That's passed. Next item is number 70. This is from the town of Whitby to Chris Ballard, who's the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. And this is about the Whitby waterfront.
Receive.
All those in favor of receiving? That's passed.
That was Pam.
The next one is reports to committee. This is CAO report 0718 from Ingrid Fellness with the amendments in the Ontario regulations for establishment of regulations of safe drinking water Act 2002. Yes.
Receive for information, unless we have questions from the audience.
I've never emptied a room so quickly.
It's like a wedding show. You know how to empty a room, anyway.
All those in favor of receiving it? Oh, yes. That's you.
There you go. Great. Thank you. So, Ingrid, are they saying that, of course, they're responsible for the drinking water? Obviously, they do the drinking water, and we're essentially responsible for all of our halls and that sort of thing. Is that what they're saying here? I'm not
Two
sure.
totally different things.
Okay.
The Clean Water Act and source water protection are a little bit different.
Okay.
We're responsible for small drinking water systems, but what they're talking about when you're talking about source water protection is you're talking about municipal wells.
Okay.
And so it is the region's responsibility. The two are totally separate issues.
But our halls have municipal wells, right?
Our halls have small drinking water systems. A municipal well serves many people.
Yeah, understood.
A small drinking water system only supports, in our case, a hall, which then we would look after addressing the water. But source water protection is really about that bigger impact on larger drinking water supplies. So that's the difference.
Ben anticipated me having one. Ben, in all of our halls, we do have UV systems, right? There's UV in Zephyr and Sanford and Goodwood?
I believe some do and some don't.
Okay. I knew they all had a system. I was just wondering about the UV part.
So from the very beginning, they did a bunch of testing to determine what equipment each facility needed. And that's what we installed.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Now, in regards to the CAO report, what would we like to do with that? So all those in favor of receiving? That's passed. And second, next we've got item number 71. This is from the Honourable Minister McGarry. Oh, that's yours? Oh, sorry. Is there any unfinished business? Any other business? Any questions from the press? Audience, I'll close this meeting of Watershed Sustainability, pass it off to Fred in Public Works. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. I call to order this meeting of Public Works and Operation. First item of correspondence is item number 71 from the Honourable Catherine McGarry, Minister of Transportation, the Honourable Diane Verneil, Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, re the launch of hashtag Cycle On Action Plan 2.0. Councillor Malloy.
So this is, we put money aside to do the plan in cooperation with this new announcement. Is that right? So we're ready to go with this. Is that right?
You asking me or?
Well, I guess through the chair to you, Dave.
Sure. So, yeah, we've got money in the budget for this, although there's not a launch date on this. From everything I read, I did some research last night online, and we still don't have a go-live date. There's not an actual grant. They just made a bunch of announcements.
Okay. Right. So what would council like to do with this? Okay, we have a motion to... Sorry, Gord, do you have a question, or?
To build on that, through you to Dave, are we going to have this thing in place for this summer, or is this just talk? I mean, what's going on here?
My opinion is we've put money aside, but with the provincial election, I don't think we're going to see anything.
Going to see anything?
That's my guess.
I mean,
I think we may be out of luck on this one.
We've taken censure, as you know, for we're not moving forward on this, and now if the province is stalling, then we look like we're not doing anything. You know? So I don't know if Ingrid maybe want to answer that.
I agree with Councillor Barton. At this point, we don't know if funding will become available. I'm not that confident at this point that it will, given what's happening at the provincial election. But there is the committee in place to put together the terms of reference. We'll continue to do that, and the hope being that at least the terms of reference will be agreed to by the current council. When the new council is elected, hopefully there'll be some funding, and the new council can appoint the committee. So I think it's still moving, but the funding would be nice to get.
Yeah.
Thanks, Igor.
The 20-cent dollars would have been great.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Carried. Next item, York-Durham Heritage Railway request, item number 72, for additional garbage bins to be used during the Day Out with Thomas event, August 10, 11, 12, 17, 18, and 19, 2018. Councillor Hyatt.
You know, I would support it, but through you to Ben, do you have areas that you could put these in? Or are they going to be out in the roadway? I mean, any idea?
Works doesn't have any garbage
bins,
so it should be referred to Parks.
To Parks? Okay. Maybe I will make that motion, Mr. Chair.
To refer this request to Parks?
You just don't want these things everywhere. They have to be in proper locations, right? So.
Anybody else? Anybody? Anybody? There she is. I know, I was looking the other way.
Reach
With the extra garbage cans, like, I mean, she hasn't said, like, is she expecting the township to do the pickup of the garbage? I mean, she's asking for garbage can. I don't know.
Send this back to Parks. To roads. I thought we said Parks. Didn't we just say Parks? We said Parks.
It's Parks.
Parks does garbage cans. Okay.
Huh.
So we'll send it back.
I know I don't have any. I don't know whether Parks has any or not.
So we'll send it to Parks. We'll get an answer, and Pam will get an answer on that as well.
We can get an answer from Parks whether they have garbage cans. The biggest question is going to be whether they're expecting these cans to be emptied by municipal staff.
So why don't we say, Pam, why don't you reach out to this lady?
I don't think they've ever requested that before.
No, they haven't, because there's been a problem, so they want to, avert that problem. So, do you want me to find out?
Sure, you do that part, and we'll send it to Parks, and we'll see if they can come up with some extra garbage cans.
Okay.
Okay? All in favor? Carried. Next item, correspondence number 73, Daniel DiVincenzo. Request for a four-way stop at the intersection of Wag Road and Concession 4 in Uxbridge. Councillor Malloy. And Councillor Barton, sorry.
It's just, I don't know what you do with traffic. It's just too bad they even talked about a four-way stop, and there was a two-way stop. Somebody ran this two-way stop. So I don't know where you go. I understand that you should slow down and drive safely. You have to be a defensive driver, I guess, by the sounds of it. But somebody ran a stop sign anyway, so I don't know how well signs work, quite frankly.
Councillor Barton, and then Councillor Beach.
Him and I share this area, but I was over there before we saw this letter a week ago, and before the one in the Cosmos I saw as well. But I talked to Gary Brown, who lives on that corner. He's been fishing people out of those ditches for years. They're very deep, very dangerous. From his perspective, there's been a large number of accidents there. And we have similar roads on Wag Road there. So I think I'd like to make a motion that we ask staff to come back with a report on accidents at the 4th and Wag, the 3rd and Wag, and the 2nd and Wag, because the 2nd has a four-way stop, the 3rd doesn't, and the 4th does. Just to see what the statistics look like on those intersections, so we can better understand what the issues are. Because again, from my experience in Eudora, what the traffic engineers I spoke to, and it was a tough issue, but what I learned with that is, in order for there to be an accident with a four-way stop, two people need to make a mistake. This poor person here, she was driving by this intersection, minding her own business, and someone took her off the road. And that's happened a lot at that spot. So this is an issue, and I think it's something we need to try and find a solution for.
Councillor Beach?
I know of a number of people that have gotten in an altercation at that corner on the 4th, and I totally agree that there should be looked at for a four-way stop to slow the traffic down. People speed through there north and south. It'd be nice to slow them down, which would help for if any discretionary people don't stop on Wag. And it should be also a four-way stop on the 3rd, because the residents to the north and south of Wag on the 3rd have complained about people speeding. They're not adhering to the the speed limit, so that would slow them down. It's a way of traffic calming.
Councillor Hyatt, join the club.
I don't know if I agree that it's traffic calming, but I think maybe we need to look at the speed limits along there, Ben. It's 80, I assume, right? Right through?
Yep.
80K. I mean, you can put up all the stop signs you like. If people are going 80, 90, 100, they're not going to stop. Or you'd be lucky if they slow down. So I think there has to be more to it than just stop signs. So.
Can I make a suggestion? Let me have a traffic engineer look at the both of them.
Can you just speak up? Sorry, I just couldn't hear what you said.
Let me have a traffic engineer look at both of them. Look at the accident history and can do.
Both for all three. But I asked for all three, just because
you made a
they're
motion
all
for all three.
comparables. That's
Okay.
all.
Can you do that for all three, Ben?
Sure.
Okay. So we have a motion. Catalina, can you repeat the motion, please, so everyone's aware?
That correspondence item number 73 be received for information, and that staff come back with a statistical report on accident history, stop signs, and speed limits on 2nd, 3rd, 4th concession, I'm assuming, and WAG Road.
Okay. And Councillor Beach?
I know since the four-way stop has been put in on the 2nd and WAG, it has helped tremendously. It does slow the traffic down. I mean, there are some times when the gravel trucks don't stop there, but at least they're slowing down, and it's been better.
All right, we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Carried. Next item, report to committee, report PWO 2918 of Ben Kester, Director of Public Works and Operations, re the RFQ, pre-qualification of general contractors for the Brock Street culvert. Questions, concern, comments? Councillor Hyatt, then Councillor Malloy. Try it now.
There we go. We're live. Before I move the recommendation, what's your timeline on this, Ben, assuming you've pre-qualified this group? What are we looking at here?
We should have the tender out by the end of the month, I hope,
Yeah,
or the 1st of June.
And when would you anticipate whichever one of these to be in place as the contract?
Mid-July.
Mid-July? Okay. I'll move the recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments? No? All in favor? Carried. Next item, report PW 3118 of Ben Kester, Director of Public Works and Operations, request for a four-way stop at Dominion Street and 1st Avenue and Dominion Street and 2nd Avenue. What would council like to do with this? Councillor Barton?
It's not my word, but you go ahead, Ward.
I'll move the recommendation. There was one thing I wanted to add to this, and I forgot what it was. Anyway, I'll move the recommendation, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion. Yes, Councillor?
So, did we have one there already before, and we took it out, or no?
We've changed the orientation. Maybe Ben can speak to that.
So, at one point in time, we were getting speeding complaints along Dominion, I believe, because it was through traffic on Dominion at 3rd and through 2nd, and through traffic at Dominion and 1st, and they were flying through. So we switched the one, I think it was at the 2nd, so that it sort of chopped things up a little.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I think that data might be wrong, because at 2nd, Dominion goes straight through. There's no stop at 2nd and Dominion. On Dominion, the stop is on 2nd. And at 1st, it's the opposite. So if you're driving up 1st, you don't have to stop to make a left onto Dominion and go down the hill.
One way or the other.
Yeah, but just for clarification.
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Carried. Next item, report PWO 3218 of Ben Kester, Director of Public Works and Operations, re-photo radar. Questions, concerns, comments? What would council like to do with this? Councillor Beach? No, just throwing her out there because she wasn't doing anything. Councillor Barton?
No, I think it's great that we continue to look at this. The region is on it, and let's follow their lead. Let's not create this wheel, but let's follow their lead and I think this could make meaningful change in our hamlet.
Very good. We have motion on the floor. All in favor? Okay. Carried. Is there any unfinished business? Any other business? Any questions from the press? Roger Barley?
Since Mr. Kester had a report on the Brock Street culvert, I'm going to use that to refer back to one of the deputations this morning from Paul Riley on the building next door to those that are coming down. What did council decide on his deputation?
Perhaps Ingrid, you can answer that?
We just received it. That's all. We received it, Roger.
Just received it?
Received it for information, that's all we did.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the press? No? All right. No other questions. I will close this meeting of Public Works and Operations and pass it off to Planning and Economic Development Committee and Councillor Hyatt. Yes, thanks for
You're not taking any questions from the public?
They're pretty quiet today.
I will call to order Planning and Economic Development, Correspondence 74, Ministry of Education. Councillor Malloy.
Motion to receive, that's all.
Motion to receive. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 75, Ministry of Municipal Affairs, Inclusionary Zoning. This is great news. I guess my question would be...
Well, first of all, we'll need to prepare for this in the 2019 budget, because there's an assessment report that needs to be put together first.
Okay.
And once the assessment report is put together and it demonstrates the need, you're going to have to go through a zoning or an official plan amendment and also through a zoning. I would expect probably by the time this exercise is done, it might cost in the neighborhood of 19 budget. We're not in a position to be able to do it right now with some of the other planning work.
So
But-
are you forecasting maybe by the end of 2019 that we'd be able to do this?
Possibly. I'm not, the only thing I'm not clear on is how much detail goes into that assessment report.
Okay. I mean, obviously, we can't do it to applications that are already underway. I'm just thinking down the road. We've talked about doing this, and now this is a great opportunity for us to do
the
it.
good thing is that there's still significant study that needs to happen before any of the Phase 2 properties can come on board. If there's going to be an opportunity, it's going to be in Phase 2. It's not going to be in probably Phase 1.
Good. Councillor Malloy?
So, Councillor, I'd receive it and refer it to the 2019 budget.
Okay. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ministry of Attorney General, Local Planning Appeal Tribunal. This is always a good one. Questions? Councillor Malloy?
I'll just receive it.
Receive. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 77, Region of Durham, received the date for the DAC Farm Tour. This is a great event. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, receive, and that was a fantastic event. It was at the racetrack last year. Had a great time.
Yeah. It's nice to support DAC as well, because they do a lot of great work. So motion to receive. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Region of Durham, the annual subdivision condominium activity report. Always a good read.
Receive.
Motion to receive by Councillor, what's your name again? Beach? Okay. I haven't seen you for a while, so.
Hey.
All in favor? Carried. Oh, does anybody have any comments on that? No? Okay. Thank you. 79, Region of Durham, the Census of Population. Another great read.
Receive.
Councillor Bryan. All in favor? Carried. 80, Durham Region of Durham, Provincial Decisions on Natural Heritage Systems. Councillor Malloy.
I just don't, I'm not sure how this even affects us. I mean, we're already completely in the green belt, so I really don't think it impacts us.
You have a question? No? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 81, Region of Durham, Broadband Strategy, Phase 1. Councillor Barton.
Motion to receive, but also, didn't we have this like 2 weeks ago, this exact same report come through? I read this already, and I thought we already received this once.
The reason you read it already is I sent it to you and Pat in advance.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
but I thought we also had it come through council once, because I remember bringing up the numbers. Maybe I was speaking to a resident. Okay.
It's just deja vu, Dave, so, Councillor Malloy.
Yeah, you know what would be nice though, I was at the region when they did this presentation. It sure would be great to get the summary version as opposed to the report we saw today, because there's just so much information in that report. It's unbelievable. Anyway, they're clearly working on it, so.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. Yeah, Councillor. Sorry, I demoted you. Ingrid?
Not councillor. The other thing is, just to provide an update, the region is actually going to meet in Uxbridge with Councillor Malloy and with Councillor Barton to go over the next steps for the strategy. Those are the two council reps that have been working on it, as well as myself. So we plan to meet shortly.
Awesome. Any questions? Councillor Barton?
More a comment. In that report that I thought I had seen twice, but in that it talked about residential internet, kind of the level they want to be at is 100 megabits per second download speed and 10 up. And many of my residents and Councillor Malloy's and at Pam's house, you know, you're struggling to get.
Do you have internet at your house?
You're struggling to get 5 megabits download and 0.5 upload. So we're nowhere near where we need to be. We need infrastructure dollars here, and this needs to get better. Now, maybe 5G will help and little programs like Cosmin Pops, but this needs to get solved.
Yeah, it does.
It's hurting our residents.
And again, sooner rather than later. So
Yes.
we have a motion here, Catalina, from Pat. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. This is a memo from the City of Toronto regarding inclusionary zoning regulations. It's my limited knowledge that says that they have special rules on this because they are the City of Toronto. Do you know anything about that? So they seem to have a magic wand that the rest of us don't have.
The City of Toronto Act, right?
That's what they call it, yeah. It's called Buying Votes in Toronto Act. But, motion to receive. Okay, all in favor. Carried. Thank you. 83, Town of Lakeshore, renovation and demolition of all buildings containing hazardous materials. Questions? Councillor Malloy?
I'd support this. I think, it's something we don't think about, but we have some of these
Yeah.
old buildings they tear down, and that dust is everywhere.
This is going to get to be more and more of an issue
Yeah,
moving
I think
forward
we should
because
support it.
land is running out, so we're going to have to reevaluate and rebuild on brownfields and so
Yeah.
on. So, okay, motion to support. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Did we already deal with
We
this?
did 84.
We did 84, okay. 85, motion. Did we
I'll make a motion
receive it?
It's tied in together. I'll make
Yeah,
a
they're
motion to
tied
receive it.
together, yeah. Okay, all in favor? All in favor of receiving? Thank you. Reports to committee, okay. DS 1718 from Liz Howson. This is regarding 96 Mechanic. Councillor Bryan.
To support the recommendation to get a little more
Support the
information.
recommendation. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. DS 1918. This is the design and elevation approval. Questions? Councillor Beach, put your hand up, please.
I did. I was just trying to figure out.
This is
Yeah.
the Oxford development.
It's the one on the fourth concession. It used to be
Oh.
Home Founders.
Home Founders,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I was like, okay.
Do you like the look of it?
Yeah,
You want
it's
to put in
okay.
an offer or anything? Yeah?
No,
Okay.
I'll stick where I am in the valley with no internet.
Do you want to move the the report? That's your word, Councillor Beach. Did you want to do something with it?
I'll support it.
Support it? Questions? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Then there's my report on downtown Uxbridge revitalization. Councillor Malloy.
Councillor High, I think you said in the report that the funds were available. Did we budget for this? I'm just curious. Or is this in that downtown revitalization fund you're getting the money? I think you said that the funds were available was your term.
I just said we were in a financial position
Oh,
to do it.
okay.
So
So what will we do for the money for this? And do you know how much we're talking about?
I don't at this point. It's basically staff to investigate it. They could come back with a number that says, we need to invest X number of dollars. I know, Ingrid, if you want to add to that, but I think it's a little early to know what that will be. I guess my point in this is that if we're rehabbing the road and the sidewalk anyway, this is a big opportunity for us to top that up with something else. Councillor Bryan.
Do you think maybe it'd be beneficial if we set up a meeting with the region, with yourself, with myself, with Gord,
Absolutely.
and
That's
Jack?
where
Maybe
I
we
was
can get
hoping it
staff
would
to-
go.
Yeah, if we could
Yeah.
set up a meeting with everybody,
I
certainly
know
the deputy
that,
mayor.
I know that
regional
staff
services.
has had preliminary discussions with them anyway, but I think you're
Right, because I
we
think
need to-
you're absolutely right. This is too big of an issue to let it go. So
Yeah.
if we can set it up with the region, we're all involved in the same conversations. I would certainly
Absolutely.
make
I-
that motion.
I totally agree. Councillor Barton.
Yeah, just also from an accessibility meetings,
Yeah.
it's nearly impossible for some of our business owners to make their buildings accessible without our help.
Exactly.
So this is critical.
Yeah.
If, I'd love to be in that meeting to talk about accessibility,
Sure.
if we can do it with quorum loss.
And we've also talked about active transportation initiatives, which I've included here as well. So.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
completely support it. Now, did someone already move to
I made
support?
that motion. The only
Let me-
question I would say on that, and it's
Do
a
you
great
want to add
idea,
that
is we'd
here
have 4
to the
people.
motion,
I know
Councillor?
that's
That's the problem, yeah.
Did you want to add that meeting to the
Yeah,
friendly
I believe we
amendment?
could set up that meeting.
Okay.
With the region.
Can we do it with a clerk or something to allow me to be there?
Yeah, can you do it if, can you, are we still quorum if a fourth person is on the phone?
I don't know.
Well,
Find
see
out.
if we can figure it out. We've done that in different restaurants, we sat at different tables.
I've heard that.
Or different restaurants, yeah.
Last name fits the next table.
How I see it as an interpretation of the act, this is the same thing as if you're all at the same session at a conference. When it's something that is, you're getting together and you're discussing a topic of interest, and it makes sense for everybody to be there, and it's not necessarily you're moving business forward or making a decision, then it's fine that everybody is present.
So we can quote you on that, Catalina?
Will you visit us in prison?
Yeah.
Can we all
Come and
sit at
see
the
us
same
at
table
Kingston,
now?
yeah.
Okay, good.
Councillor Beach, go ahead.
Like, I mean, it's something that I have an interest also. I mean, I would like to be
I
included.
think, yeah. Well,
'Cause
it's gonna be a
It's
decision.
information
Yeah.
with the municipality as a whole
Absolutely.
and our businesses, and I think it's important that we all are able to attend.
So we're gonna leave the ball with Catalina and she's gonna organize it, so. Okay, motion is to support the recommendation and add the meeting to it, right? Questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. We have one more report on the addendum. This is from Liz Howson, DS 1818. This is regarding 3436 Brock Street West. Questions? Councillor Malloy.
I'll just move the recommendation.
Move the recommendation. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any unfinished business for planning? Any other business? There being none, I will ask the press. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, councillor, just need some clarification if I may. On,
Mm-hmm.
you recommend that, staff investigate the development of a design. So you don't want them coming up with actual plans for this, just to, what do you mean when you ask them to investigate the development of a design?
Well, the ultimate goal is to create a streetscape plan.
I'm sorry, a
A
streetscape?
streetscape
Okay.
plan, which would basically show you how this thing could look. Obviously, there's some bridges to cross first, with the region, traffic studies, all that kind of thing, but I think this is initiating the process. That's the intent of this. It's not gonna be a definitive plan that we're gonna come out with next week. It'll be something that evolves as it moves forward, so.
And do you have a timeline that you would like to see staff come back with a report of some kind?
Sooner rather than later. I know that's open-ended. I guess where I'm going, Roger, is if we're gonna be digging the road up and ripping up stuff, this is a perfect opportunity to do something when it's rebuilt.
Okay, thank you.
Rather than putting it back the way it is, and then, why didn't we think about that at the time, right? So, anybody else? Yes, sir. You scream nice and loud, we'll hear you.
This is a bit of an unusual question, but going back to the internet speeds, there's a number of, I was doing some research a while back on humorous and unusual laws that are still on the books in Canada. There is apparently, according to a number of websites for Uxbridge, Ontario, a law that says you can't have a speed of internet faster than 100 megabits per second. according to these websites. So I just wanted to ask council, is that in error, or is there some antiquated law in the books that needs to be addressed to be able to allow you to do these faster speeds that you're discussing?
Well, I wasn't aware of that, but if anybody else maybe has some more information. Councillor Malloy?
I just comment that obviously the federal requirements would supersede our municipal ones, so that, I'm sure that's an antiquated law, of course.
I think there was one about donkeys or something too, but it was...
Provide livery for your horses too.
Anyway. There any other questions, folks? None? I will adjourn planning then and pass it to administration. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll call the Administration Committee to order. First correspondence number 86. This is the Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration regarding the Champion of Diversity Award. Councillor Hyatt?
Just a motion to post this on our website and our usual social media channels.
Great, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Item 67, Michael Barrett. This is a response to our concerns over the distribution of trustees. Clearly, we didn't impact them very much with that letter that we sent them. What would you like to do with it, Councillor Hyatt?
Sure.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like we're not going to do anything, so too bad, so sad.
Yeah,
That's
thanks for coming
basically
out.
what they're telling us. Yeah,
It is interesting, though, that they did it at the same meeting, which I thought was kind of, they certainly didn't allow any time for input, that's for sure. Anyway, so we have...
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, you're gonna...
I just know, you know, the trustee that's in there now, and obviously we had the death earlier in this term, but, you know, to have one person representing 3 municipalities, to me, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care, well, I do care about the people in Whitby, but they have to look at this thing on the big level, you know, like what, you know, and again, it's coming down to numbers and population by representation thing, and it's crossed the line here, you know. I mean, there are some huge issues that we have in the north, especially with education, access, busing, and all that kind of stuff, that's going to be completely obliterated when this thing takes shape as of next term, so.
Clearly, they didn't consider geographic area either.
Well, we had the whole issue, as you all know, with busing, you know, that they weren't supplying busing anymore, and, you know, you can get on a bus in Oshawa every 10 minutes. You can't do that here, you know, but that's just one facet of it, but to me, it's ridiculous, so.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive. Councillor
sorry,
Barton, go ahead.
Just to comment on this. This was frustrating to read, the total dismissal of our request, and just the disrespect for what our needs are up here. It was frustrating and a little quite insulting, in my opinion.
They didn't hesitate to blame somebody else for it either.
And pass the buck and everything else. Anyway, this is what's wrong with elected officials.
Agreed. All's in favor? Carried. Gord moved that, I think, Catalina? Did you have Gord down? Good. This is item 88. This is Lauren Johannesson. It's this goes on every year, this ride to remember Brent Foster.
Yes, I completely support this. I was there last year and the year before. It's a great event.
Yep.
And because it's mostly firefighters, it's fitting that our department are involved.
Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I've been at this event. It's great.
Yeah.
The proceeds all go to bereaved families. Nobody's making money off of this deal. It's fantastic. And kudos to Lauren and Donna for running it. They do a bang-up job on this, so continued success to them both.
Great. Okay, so a motion from Councillor Barton, support it. Was that the first one? Okay. Yep. I think you made it anyway, didn't you? Okay. No other questions? All's in favor? Carried. Thank you. This is item 89. Lisa Mahoney. This is a request to give them permission to discharge firearms at their cowboy-mounted shooting. This is a tough one. Pam, go ahead.
I spoke to Andre this morning. I really want to refer this to bylaw to speak to the residents north and south of the property in question to make sure about the noise. Because it has the noise component and firearms, we need to be very careful before we write any letter that it's okay. So we do need to check with the residents.
And Andre clearly has already said it's okay. It doesn't contravene any of our bylaws, as I read the letter.
Yes, but when speaking with him this morning, he said that we really should be checking with the other residents so that there's no repercussions.
Great. So you're making that motion to refer it back to Andre?
Yes, sir.
Great. Any other, Councillor Barton?
A friendly amendment. This is a concern, for sure. You know, we all know of dogs that whenever there's loud noises like this, they take off and run for miles. This, if I lived next to this, it could really affect my way of life. And there's no limitations on how many she shoots. I looked it up online. The looks like a great sport, but it's loud. And there's about 20 shots per tour around the course.
And they're .45 caliber. It's not like a .22.
It's loud. So if you look at the videos, they're very loud.
Councillor Bryan.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the hours are for this. Is this like an all-day thing? Is it a weekend thing? Are they shooting in the dark? I'd like to know, because, and again,
Yeah.
get back to Councillor Barton's event, right?
Yeah, no,
So-
the
It's
hours.
trained, so it could go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
She
not a
could
big,
train
I
kids.
So
can tell
we'll
you right
refer
now,
it back.
I am not a big fan of this.
No, I'm not either. So
I
we're
don't
going to
think- I don't
refer
want
it back
somebody
to
doing it.
Andre.
Please.
Councillor Hyde, do you have a question?
I just have a question on the logistics. It says they're firing blanks. How are they popping these balloons with blanks? I'm not clear on how this works.
Bit of gunpowder.
Black powder.
There is some gunpowder. That's how they get the propulsion.
So
And
they're shooting these balloons with black powder.
Well, like in the black.
Well, it's a
So there's no
.45
BB
caliber.
or slug or anything
No.
that's
No,
being
it's
fired
a
here?
.45 caliber bullet.
Yeah.
It is a bullet.
Yeah,
coming
it's
out
a
of the
.45
gun.
caliber. No? What is it then?
Yeah.
Oh, that's, oh.
So it's the force of the shot that's doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's curious.
Yeah, I would
I
encourage you to
couldn't
look.
look it up on the, I didn't have internet this weekend.
But,
Like a lot of people.
You know, to build on your point, a .45 is substantially louder than a .22 or a BB gun or anything else. So I just, anyway, we'll refer it back.
So it's going back to Andre? Okay, any other questions? All's in favor? Carried. We've dealt with 90 already. Reports to committee. Do I have anything on the addendum? No. Reports to the committee. This is AC 218 from Andre. This is regarding naming of the animal shelter. I guess Debbie's not here, but well, I just have a couple of questions. I would certainly like to see on this that, and I should have asked anybody else that had a question first, but I'd like to see a timeline on naming of something. We see it so often where you put your name on something, and 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we have to do maintenance on the building. It's a great way to draw more funding to keep the facility alive. So I think there should be a timeline. It can't be forever.
Like we did with Rotary, with Skate.
Yeah, exactly. There should be a timeline. Personally, that's the one question I would have. Councillor Hyatt.
And just on that, I mean, I forget if we actually discussed this. Is there a way to name the entire facility, the whatever center or whatever for animal? Or are
I
we
think
gonna
that
call
report
this
only
thing-
allowed the lobby. I don't think they allowed the building in the report we had, as I recall.
Because along your lines, and I think it's a great idea, is to put a timeline on it, but you could be getting bigger input of funds. If someone said, okay, I want to sponsor the whole building, you know, whether it's a local corporation or whatever, I think that's an opportunity that we need to look at as well, as the individual rooms or whatever, so.
So what would you like to do with this? Do you want to refer this back to Debbie maybe with a few questions, and maybe we'll have a chat with
Maybe,
her?
yeah, I think that's probably the way to deal with it.
Can we, what's that?
Andres, yeah.
Oh, it's Andres, I'm sorry. Oh.
Hey, you're just in time, come on up.
Oh, Andre, can you come up to the mic then? So you took this report from the presentation that we had from NASM, right? That's where it came from, on their corporate donations?
Yeah, we just modified it, obviously with them not proceeding with their major gift campaign.
Right.
It's just something that the township would like to take over as staff, to try and offset some of that.
To answer Councillor Hyatt's question, is there a way to sponsor the whole facility, or was that ever discussed?
It wasn't something that we discussed. I just took the original plans from them. If it's something that council wants to look at, then
I'm using, you know, like the Rogers Center, for
Yeah.
example. you
Yeah,
know.
classic. O'Keefe
Where-
Center.
Where it's they all have corporate names, you know, every hockey arena or
Right.
sports stadium, so I don't see why we'd be limiting ourselves by not opening that. So.
Yeah, we can direct staff to have a look at
Have a
that,
look at
and
that.
I can speak with Debbie about the possibility.
Councillor Beach.
Yeah, because, like, I agree. I mean, if there's somebody that has the money, say, for a 10-year period of time, that they're willing to kick in all the money that's needed for those sections, we should be taking, you know, the one name if it's possible. Like, we should be looking at all aspects, anything that we can do to get this done.
And I think that maybe we should consider, as Councillor Hyatt said, if somebody's gonna come along and say, here's your $500,000, we wanna name the building, obviously that's something we could negotiate, for sure. We don't have to slam the door on that, 'cause that... So there's a couple questions there, Andre, we'd like you to come back with, if you don't mind. Councillor Barton?
Yeah, the other thing I think we should do, there's some people that are really good at this type of work. It might be Pam, our new curator at the museum. Pat, sorry. Sorry, Pam. Anyway, there's some people that have raised money in ways like this in the past. We may want to seek some guidance. And again, not try and create our own program when there's people that have done this really, really well.
Actually, Amy from that committee, that's sort of what she did, didn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right, so are you clear what we're asking you to do, Andre? The other one is to limit the term, it's not forever. If somebody does a room inside the building, we'd like you to look into the fact that it should have a timeline on it. We're suggesting 10 years, I don't know if that's appropriate or not. Any other questions?
Just one more
Go
comment.
ahead, Councillor Barton.
10 years goes by really fast.
Yeah, I know.
I was thinking maybe more like 15 or 20, just
Okay.
so it's more significant.
Cool.
But, yeah.
I just think there needs to be an end to it, that's all.
No, and I agree with you on that. What at the end of life for that part of the
Maybe.
facility. But anyway, and then if you could seek guidance on the best way to market this to potential donors, that'd be great.
Yes, I have had conversations with Colleen, to begin, the framework for that, but yes, there is, who's going to go out and have those conversations and do presentations similar that we did to Canada Day. I'm not sure who will be that person at that point.
Great.
I think you phrase it, though, that it would be a 10-year startup, and then it's almost like an option on a lease. In other words, if you want to continue on beyond the 10 years, then we would approach you at that 10-year time and say, are you interested in renewing your commitment?
Yeah.
It's fairly straightforward.
Or let them one-up it. Like, for 10 years naming rights, it's this.
So you're
for
giving
20,
them
it's this.
15, yeah, whatever.
You're basically
Okay.
giving them an option to
Andre?
renew.
Yeah, so that is part of, what's in there now. 8.01 is the length of term for the naming commitment. You can establish that through, the agreement itself, the length of term.
Okay, so I think what we're saying is consider 10 or 15 and put it in the policy for all of them, and then perhaps the naming of the building may be a little bit different, but...
Okay.
That? Did somebody move that? Gore, did you move that motion? I don't know if, I don't think you did, okay. No other questions? All's in favor? Carried. Alrighty, any unfinished business? Any other business? Questions from the press? Everybody's happy over there? Perfect, okay. Alrighty, we are gonna go into in-camera now with a couple items. Thank you very much. Sorry, did you have a question, Roger? It's an evening meeting next week, yes, the 14th, absolutely. Precious Minds has their golf tournament that day, as you know, so. Great, thank you for coming. Do you want 5 minutes before we go into this? Are we all right?